Motorsport BMW, although it hasn't made the grid due to technical difficulties, and row 7 is made up of 2 chevrons, the Jensen Motorsport car and the Chevron GT4 of Anthony Reid and Ray Grimes, which didn't set a qualifying lap. And as you can see, the weather forecast has not let us down. It could be quite an intense competition. So we have the Rapier on the pole, the Mosler in second, Horsepower Racing's Aston is there in third, and the Chevron car's GT3 is there in fourth position. There should be quite a few movers in the first couple of laps, but what you're about to witness is the toughest GT championship in British motorsport. 3 hours of racing each time we go. And the 2013 MSA British Endurance Championship is go! Great start from the Mosler as he kicks his way down towards turn 1. The Chevron's made a good start as well in the hands of Marcus Clutton. In fact, he looks like he's going for second. He looks like he's going for the lead there into Redgate Corner. Fantastic start from the Chevron. And it looks like the sister car is up amongst the mixed as well. Brilliant start. So the Neil Garner Motorsport Mosler leads through the Craner curves. It's very, very easy to make a mistake here. The drivers will be wanting to play the percentage game here, get the rhythm early, although Clutton looks like he wants the lead early. He backs out of it at the last moment. Mike Millard there in the Rapier in third position, and some nice midfield battling. Anthony Reid is in the 97 Chevron, looking like he's going for the outside of Tommy Field already. Magnificent stuff in the early stages. Javier Morcello in the Mosler, leading Marcus Clutton, who's following in his wheel tracks at the moment. These slippery conditions can catch out the best of drivers, and they just want to play it safe for the moment. Keep up the rhythm. Remember, it's a 3-hour race, not a 20-minute sprint, and that's why this is the ultimate GT challenge in Great Britain. So, Neil Garner Motorsport leads the way. Chevron Cars is there in second in the GT3. Third is the Rapier SR2. Fourth is Andy Schultz in the Horsepower Racing Aston Martin. That car was only bought 24 hours ago for £500,000. How it's on the grid at all is a minor miracle, and Paul Bailey will love to get his hands on that car later on. So they complete the first lap, and it's nice and clean considering the conditions out on the circuit. That just shows you we've got a field of very mature racing drivers out there who are not willing to go ugly early. They want to make sure they get through the first couple of laps in good form. Here comes Andy Schultz on the inside of Marcus Clutton. There's nothing that the Chevron driver can do about it. What a move. That was perfectly judged from Andy Schultz. Considering this car is just 24 hours old to this team, that is some amazing car control in these treacherous conditions. Great driving from Andy Schultz, and that puts them into second overall. So the Mosler putting in some good work. Hang on a minute, that's Anthony Reid making a move for an overtake. This isn't even a lap's difference between the two. He's actually going for it. That move maybe a little bit too premature, because up the inside comes Tom Webb in the BMW M3. Thank you very much, I'll take the place. And he's on the inside at Redgate, although the little Chevron still keeping its foot in there. I'm not letting you have this without a fight, mate. And he's almost side by side of the Craner curves. And Marcus Clutton, oh no, he's lost it! He's lost it! The back end kicks out as he heads for Coppice, and that's into the dirt. Oh dear, what a disaster for Marcus Clutton. The British GT convert has thrown it off the circuit. It's so slippy up at Coppice, and if anybody's going to lose it anywhere on this circuit, it's probably going to be there, but that's not going to make it any easier to take. Oh, Marcus Clutton will be devastated with that. So, we return to the action on the track, and there is Ryan Radcliffe making a sweet little move on the inside of the Intersport Mosler. So, the boys... Oh, goodness me. Bit of opposite lock needed there. The back end flicking out, and that's cost him a bit of momentum. They're going to be side by side on the way down to Redgate Corner. Brilliant stuff as they make their way through, side by side. Who's going to blink first? It's the Mosler. Ryan Radcliffe puts his foot there. Nope, I'm making this move happen. Get out of it. That's the Intersport Mosler! Off into the gravel trap at Redgate there. Disaster. So Wayne Gibson, I think that is, has gone straight on a turn 1. Disaster for the Intersport Mosler team. And the Rapier SR2 is back in again. It's only just made a pit stop, and it's parking up in the garage. Oh dear, more mechanical gremlins. It's all kicking off here. Oh, and how about that for a staggering spin as Paul Bailey loses the back end just out of Coppice Corner, and that has ruined his rhythm. Hopefully he should be able to get that car back on the straight and narrow without too much time lost. But that was a bit of a mistake, and again it looks like it might be raining on the circuit. Well, Paul Bailey on the racing line. Now he's got the car going again. I think he just needed to have a quick spit and polish to get his bearings, and now he's back on the road again. Oh, there goes the Track Talk Chevron off into the gravel. So Chris Hart, I do believe, has gone a little bit too heavy into the corner there, and that's binned it. Well, the marshals shove it back on the racetrack. It's a brilliant strength there from the marshals. Oh, somebody's going off. Is that the Mosler? It is! Javier Morcillo goes off up at Coppice Corner, runs through the gravel trap. Somehow he manages to keep his foot on the throttle and returns to the circuit. What car control! Into the pits comes the Aston. Is this for a driver change, or is this for something completely different? Down to the pit garage they go, and the Aston isn't stopping at its box. It's just driving straight on. I have a feeling they've been given a drive-through penalty here. Well, that really has ruined their chances of victory. That's going to cost them so much time, and that's something that we're really running out of now. Into the Fogarty S's, and what a way to kickstart the 2013 campaign. You have to call them the favourites for the championship now. Javier Morcillo takes the flag, and Neil Garner Motorsport take the first win of the MSA British Endurance Championship in 2013. Lights flashing, oh yes! So Morcillo and Cintrano take the class win and the win overall, from Bailey and Schultz in the Aston Martin, Loggy and Jones in the Porsche, and Grimes and Reed in the Chevron take their respective class victories.
For an outsider, someone watching the race, it seemed like you had great pace throughout. You actually made it look quite easy, but you just said then that it was a difficult race.
It was really difficult. It wasn't easy at all.
Yeah.
It was.
Why? What makes it difficult?
The conditions were changing every lap.
The weather
every
again.
lap, the weather makes the circuit greasier or less greasier every time.
Yeah.
So to find the absolute edge is really difficult, because the circuit is different every lap. The tires are different every lap, and the fuel load is different every lap. So normally we can take it a bit easier, but this race has been qualifying pace from start to finish. 3 hours of qualifying pace. So it's been really, really difficult.
Want to keep up with all the racing action at the track? Well, download the new Go Racing TV iPhone and Android app. And remember to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
2 minutes before the race begins, the heavens have opened, but luckily we caught up with a few of the drivers before the race. Well, I'm joined by Chris. Chris, first of all, talk us through what happened to the car yesterday.
Oh, well, Ian was driving along and the barrier sprung from nowhere, and he managed to tackle it and cause quite a bit of damage to the front end of the car, took the whole front end off, and when I saw it coming back in on the truck, I just thought, that's it, game over for the weekend, and that would be it. But the boys have worked flat out all night. They've been up to 1 o'clock. Team Parker Racing have just done such a fantastic job. If you'd have seen it yesterday, you just wouldn't believe it was going to be here.
Nigel Mustell, Bob Berridge and John Martin sit on the front of the grid, with the Mike Millard Rapier in second on the grid. Neil Garner Motorsports Mosler is third, ahead of the Horsepower Racing Aston Martin Vantage. The Chevron GT3 is fifth, just in front of the Team Parker Porsche, and in seventh place we were going to see the Intersport Mosler of Kevin Clark, Wayne Gibson and British Touring Car star Andrew Jordan, but sadly a drop valve has put them out of the running before we've even got going. The GTS Motorsport BMW of Tom and James Webb is eighth, Tommy Field and Chris Hart in the Track Talk Chevron are ninth, and then Leith, Smith and Woodman are there in the BPM Renault in 10th on the grid. The Chevron GT4 of Anthony Reid and Ray Grimes is 11th, ahead of the Simpson Motorsport Porsche of Anthony Mott and Peter Cook, and the Jensen Motorsport Chevron GR8 of Jensen Lunn and Alistair Lindsay rounds out the grid. Well, as we saw, the rain has suddenly come upon us, so every team is on a mission impossible to get the cars ready for the wet conditions. There's no question, it's a no-brainer. Everybody has to change to wet tyres, as the circuit has been completely saturated. Everyone's changing to wets, as you can see, and the marshals and the stewards have decided that it is going to be started, the race under the safety car. That is a very sensible decision. Just look at the conditions in the pit lane. Very tricky. Everybody's going to struggle in this race. The conditions are going to be changeable throughout, but from the front of the grid we'll get the Riley and the Rapier on the front row. The Neil Garner Motorsport Mazda, of course, defending after a win at Donington Park. They'll want to do it again. On board with Ian Loggy in the Porsche, who will start the race for them, and so too will Andy Schultz in the horsepower Aston Martin. Really, really cool to see that Riley on the grid. It totally deserves to be there. This is actually a track day version of the Daytona prototype that you tend to see in the Grand Am Road Racing Series, and it's great to see it out there at Silverstone. The Rapier still showing it is the fastest car over one lap, but is it reliable enough to go the full distance and get a victory here today? Just behind them, two cars no stranger to battling for overall victories. The Mazda of Javier Morcillo and Manuel Centrano that won last time out at Donington Park, of course, and the all-new Aston Martin for Horsepower Racing, the team that came so close to an overall win last year but didn't manage it. Green flags, and away we go as they run down to the first corner. The Riley is away, and already the Rapier is being swamped as the Neil Garner Mazda of Javier Morcillo gets past Mike Millard into the first corner. And already we have Andy Schultz and Marcus Clutton chasing them down as they head through the farm curve. We're on board with Andy Schultz as he makes his move on the inside of Millard. So it looks like the horsepower Aston has gone up into third position. John Martin then, the Australian, leading in the Wessex Riley. Then we have Morcillo in the Mazda, and Andy Schultz has got through into third position, and Marcus Clutton is up to fourth as well in the Chevron. So a very poor start for the Rapier. He loses another place to Tom Webb in the BMW. Now they did say earlier that they're going to pace things in the early stages. This car is not suited to the wet conditions, so they may well just build up to it. And there goes Chris Hart in the Track Talk Chevron, and there is John Martin coming into the pits. Well, Rachel Downey is out there and she can tell us what went wrong.
Could you say quickly what's happened to the car?
We seem to have a bit of a power issue. I'd say some water's got in somewhere, and yeah, we're stuck in top gear for the last sort of 3 laps. We're stuck in fourth, and then I could go up and then knock back down through the gearbox. So, and then yeah, at the end I lost the dash, lost all power altogether. So, you know, just first time the car's been run, so we're still doing a bit of testing and stuff. So.
And there goes Clutton in the Chevron, losing the back end on the way into Vale. Has he got first gear again? Is the recovery going to be swift? Yes, it is. He's managed to find everything he needs to get back on the track again. The conditions out there so treacherous. Back on board with Andy Schultz as he pursues Javier Morcillo. These two teams, great rivals last year, and it looks like it could be this year as well. Schultz has got the run on Morcillo. Down the hangar straight, wheel to wheel, door to door. Thank you very much and good night on the way down to the braking zone for Stowe. Andy Schultz gets the manoeuvre done very early indeed, and that Aston Martin looks like it's better suited to the wet conditions here at Silverstone than the Mazda. Now, this is what we wanted to see, the Chevron GT3 racing wheel to wheel with the Rapier. Marcus Clutton versus Mike Millard, and this really is an even contest. Clutton through the link, Millard right on his tail. It's going to be interesting to see how much of a leg Mike Millard has got on the Chevron GT3. They're very evenly paced, these cars. Millard on the inside. He's got the run out of the link. Can he make it through into the Stowe corner? He's got the inside line, but Clutton is hanging on round the outside, and Millard is through. That was some great racing from both drivers. They gave each other enough space, even in the wet conditions. That's the Mazda! That is the Mazda! Javier Morcillo slowing to a crawl. Second position in the race, and Javier Morcillo and the Neil Garner Motorsport Mazda is in trouble. There goes the Mazda. Rachel has found Javier Morcillo.
Javier, how's it going out there for you?
Not very well at the minute. Not anyway. We have a big misfire. The car is full of water inside, and it's obviously affecting all electrical bits inside. So the car is stopping twice a lap. We stopped trying to see if we can fix it. I don't know. It's a difficult one.
So Morcillo. Oh no! Cintrano, the car has come to a complete stop on the hangar straight. Just as Javier Morcillo was talking about how difficult things are going with the car, and it's now come to a stop, and there's the Rapier going off! The Rapier goes off at the club corner. Well, the Mazda's got going again, but Mike Millard spins the Rapier out of club corner. I'll be interested to see, actually, if the Rapier's got going again. But the Mazda of Manuel Centrano stopping out on the hanger straight. No problem so far for Tom Webb. Here he is in the BMW. Now this is one of the cars that looks like it's only going to make one stop. The Mazda back in again. Neil Garner looking a little bit flustered. Laptop in hand. Electrical issue it must be with the Mazda. There's a man who's not enjoying himself at the moment. They just want the car to be running like a freight train like it usually does. And unfortunately, the rain has got this car well and truly unstuck. And Marcus Clutton dealing with a huge amount of opposite lock there on the way down to Stowe Corner. That is the mark of a great driver. He held it. So Ian Loggy again battling it out with Jeff Smith, and on the inside down the hanger straight, and he's got him very early. So I wonder if the Renault might have made a little mistake on the way through the link. In comes the Renault, Jeff Smith. Is he getting out? Rachel is down in the pit lane with Ashley Woodman.
So what's going on with the car? You look absolutely gutted.
We had a coming together with another car yesterday, which smashed their back wheel onto our front wheel.
Yeah.
That's broken the upper wishbone and the camber adjuster holder. We had a new kit made for us yesterday, fabricated, and it failed this morning on the bearing, and the bearing's gone again now. So when you hold the wheel, it's rattling. We're trying to push through, but I don't think it'll last 3 hours.
Well, there is a very unfortunate sight. The Wessex Riley out of the race. They're still doing work on it. That is Tommy Field into the pit lane. Chris Hart did a brilliant job in the first stint. They made their way all the way up to second place overall. But now it looks like things are terminal for the Chevron. This is a disaster for the Track Talk boys. Oh dear, they were having such a great run. Chris Hart was driving out of his skin, and Tommy Field brings it into a closing garage. That is such a shame. So the Track Talk Chevron is out, and Centrano in the Mazda spinning a village. That is a disaster, as if things weren't going badly already, and now they've been lapped by their rivals. Paul Bailey no doubt will have a wry smile in that helmet. Oh, that's a very disappointing sight. Well, Centrano's recovered in the Mazda. We haven't seen it, but the Chevron GT3 has been in, so Jordan Witt is now behind the wheel. Now into the pits again comes Paul Bailey. Now this is going to be, hopefully for them, their last pit stop. Bailey gets out, Schultz gets back in, and this should hopefully take them to the checkered flag. They'll want to get out quickly. They don't want to lose track position. They certainly don't want to lose a chance for victory. And in comes Carsten LeBlanc in the Rapier. He'll head over to Nigel Greensall for the last bit. And it looks like they're going for slick tyres, so they've had enough of the wet tyres. Well, that sky is not going to do them any comfort at all. And it's raining again. So up on the west side of the circuit, it's really starting to look very tricky out there now. Into the pit lane comes the Rapier. Yep, they've decided to go straight back to the wet tyres. It's frantic down at the Rapier pit. That's Alistair Lindsay pulling off in the Chevron on the last corner. In fact, he's actually pulling off down the international pit straight. Now, this could cause a problem. What with the rain coming out, and now Alistair Lindsay stopping in that place. No, hang on. I was going to say this might bring out the safety car, but I think he's very strategically trying to bring it to the pit gate. They could open the pit gate and bring the car back in to the pit lane without bringing out the safety car. So I wonder if that's exactly what he's tried to do. The last thing these teams want is a safety car now. Out of the final turn, the checkered flag is theirs. Well done! Andy Schultz and Paul Bailey have done it! So a cracking win for Horsepower Racing, not only in Class 1, but finally overall. It's the GTS BMW that wins Class 3 and comes second overall, and Class 2 winners, Loggy and Jones, head to the top of the overall championship standings.
Andy and Paul, both of you are just, well, ecstatic. You can't quite believe you're here.
Yeah, it's definitely weird. It's kind of like a strange anticlimax. Can't quite suss it yet. We've been trying so hard to win. And then we won it, and it's like, I think it's because we ended our session quite slowly, so we weren't actually scrapping right the way to the end. But no, it's a great feeling, isn't it, to get this one in the bag.
It's absolutely fantastic. You know, we do deserve the win. It was a hard win that we won today because the conditions were absolutely awful. You know, the 20 minutes at the start of the race was on a safety car. It's crazy.
Some of the biggest upheavals in American sports is in the world of motor racing, especially sports car racing. There's mergers, new series being proposed, audiences coming and going, drivers getting younger and younger. That's why you need the Racing Insiders on MAV TV to help you navigate the turmoil. The Racing Insiders is a new, weekly, 30-minute news show covering sports car racing, whether it's being done professionally, globally, or by the local grassroots club. Award-winning journalist Bill Wood will host the weekly discussions, along with race-winning insiders Peter Keene in Florida and Jim Daniels in Tennessee. It's a fast-paced, edgy sports show. They'll even reach out to guest insiders to bring you behind-the-scenes insider information you'll want to know. This new era in sports car racing needs the Racing Insiders.
The Racing Insiders on MAV TV, Thursdays at 2 and 5 p.m. Eastern, and again on Saturdays at noon.
We're here for the Britcar MSA British Endurance Championship from Rockingham. Much sunnier than last time. We caught up with some of the drivers a bit earlier on. I'm joined by Adam Sharp. Adam, tell us what's going on right now.
We had a good qualifying session. Yep. Obviously qualified on pole, which was great. First time in the car, so it's good to be back in an open cockpit car from my prototype days of a few years ago. It's nice to be back and in the air. We've got a little bit of a fuel pressure issue, so we're just looking at the pumps now just to see what could be the problem there. Hopefully they'll resolve it. And apart from that, I'm just too tall for it. I'm just getting all sorts of knee problems and feet problems and all sorts.
I love this, like it's the first time you just realised how tall you are. Where have you been since last year?
Racing in Germany a lot, doing a lot of the VLN races at the Nürburgring, and just come back from the 24 hours. Had a very good last race for the VLN, won that, we're on pole and won that, got fastest lap, but the 24 hours we had a bit of an issue. Car's very strong, but had a bit of a failure early on in the race, which was a shame.
And focusing on this race, you think you guys are definitely going to go out there?
Going to give it a go, yeah. I think Mike's going to start, I'm not too sure, and then I'll do the middle stint and see what happens. You know, the Aston's really, really quick. The motor's obviously got its problems today, so it's a small field, but we'll have some fun.
I'm joined by Chris Hart. Chris, can you talk us through the season so far for you guys?
Yeah, been a bit of a roller coaster for us. The car, when it's going, has been going really, really well. Track Talk have been doing a great job. Field Multisports really makes an engine that goes. But unfortunately, we didn't get a lot of pre-season testing, so the gremlins that you tend to have, we've had in the first two races. So we've had real good pace, but just not reliability, unfortunately. But we had an engine change last night. Still things that were gremlins from Silverstone. The pace is looking good. Tommy's not with me this weekend, but Henry's jumped in the car. He's getting on the pace now. So I'm going to start the race and then do the first 2 hours. Henry's going to finish it, and he's had some time now, so he's getting there on the times as well.
So looking at, say, today, for instance, the weather is stunning. Yeah. Is that one advantage for you guys as well?
I don't mind it either way. We actually go really well in the wet, but it's actually better in the dry. So we seem to have the pace today, so quite looking forward to it.
Javier, first of all, tell me what's happened with the car.
Well, engine died. We've been looking at the data all through weekend, and oil pressure wasn't so good, and it was giving some signs of being tired, the engine, and it died. There's nothing we can do. It did it on the worst possible time, which is the qualifying. Yeah. So we have no time, no engine, no possibility to race.
So going from here, is it a simple case of just getting a new engine, or is there more faults within the car?
Well, it's a bit more complicated. We need an engine, we need the time to fit it, which is not realistic. So there's no chance of getting into a race.
So moving forward, I think we've got a few weeks to the next race. Do you think you can get the car sorted for then?
Yeah, definitely. It's not a difficult job. It takes days only, but yeah, we need an engine in those days, so it's not to do it all today, but definitely do it all for the next race.
Good. Well, I look forward to seeing you at the next race, and thank you for still smiling.
Why not?
I can't think of a day in living history when Javier Morcillo hasn't had a smile on his face, even though the Neil Garner Mosler is going no further. The Rapier is still in the pit sorting out that fuel pressure problem, so it's Bailey and Schultz in the horsepower Aston that'll lead away with Loggie and Jones in the Parker Porsche. It's the Webbs in their BMW M3 just in front of the GT4 Chevron of Reed and Grimes. The Chevron GR8 of the Track Talk Chevron boys of Henry Dawes and Chris Hart will be 7th just in front of the Fold Sport Ginetta. The Simpson Porsche of Cook and Mott line up in front of the Chevron GT3 of Jordan Witt and Marcus Clutton. Good start from the man at the front of the field, Andy Schultz. He's already made a break ahead of Ian Loggie. Chris Hart is there in 3rd position. Webb is there in 4th position. Not for long though. Here's Anthony Reid trying to go round the outside, and James Webb can do nothing about it. Anthony Reid outbreaks him, and he looks like he's already making his move on Chris Hart. Round the outside for the 3rd race in a row. The Chevrons from different teams are going to go wheel to wheel. Ding ding, round 3. Good start from Flick Haig in the Ginetta as well, having made a move past James Webb, and here's Jordan Witt trying to make the same move. So it looks like James Webb is going backwards through the field at the moment as Jordan Witt on the inside. Here he goes at Chapman Curve. Is he going to get past James Webb? Yes, indeed. Well, I have a feeling that the Webbs are going to play the long game here. They may have a heavier fuel load, which means they could only make one stop throughout this race. But out in front, it is the Aston of Andy Schultz. There is no Neil Garner Mosler to challenge them. Javier Morcillo and Manuel Centrano will be kicking themselves in frustration. So Hart is there, and he better get past Loggie quick because Jordan Witt is on his tail. And here he goes, up the inside. Can he get Ian Loggie this time? Taking it into the inside line. Oh, he nearly loses it on the curve. And at Chapman, he gets through up into 2nd place. Brilliant move on Ian Loggie, and I doubt it's going to be too long before Jordan Witt repeats the move in the GT3 Chevron, and if he's not careful, he'll get taken by Anthony Reid in the GT4 as well. This is fantastic. The Chevron GT Cars team are now getting into their own, and they'll want to catch up with the Track Talk car as quickly as they possibly can. Jordan Witt on the inside at Gracelands. It's not an easy corner to make a move. He's not quite made it there. Loggie shuts the door. Now Jordan Witt switches to the inside. Up at Tarzan, he makes the move, beautifully done, and up into 3rd position, and here comes Anthony Reid to follow as well. Magnificent. Ian Loggie, what on earth has he got to do to get these chevrons off his back? He's driving brilliantly in the Parker Porsche, but he can afford to play the long game here. Something's wrong. Something's definitely wrong on the Track Talk Chevron. There goes the Parker Porsche. Ian Loggie's flown past, and Anthony Reid in the 97 Chevron GT4 has gone past as well. So something's definitely happened with the Track Talk Chevron. Chris Hart loses 2 places in the blink of an eye. Here comes Flick Haig up the inside. She takes the lead in Class 3. Magnificent driving, and is James Webb going to get there too? No, the door is slammed firmly shut in his face. Don't you dare, bucko. Chris Hart getting back into the Track Talk Chevron. Sadly, no Tommy Field this weekend. And here comes the Rapier. My goodness, that is a wonderful sight to see. Mike Millard and the boys at the Rapier team have got that car going again by the look of it. Are they going to send it back out onto the circuit? They're trying. Now James Webb getting it on with Anthony Reid down the inside. He's got a good build-up. Anthony Reid breaks late, but James Webb is up the inside. Yes, he's got the Chevron. Oh, and that's the GT3 in. That's Jordan Witt bringing the Chevron in very early. That does not look scheduled. Oh dear, the car coming to a very slow crawl. Well, there is the Rapier back on track. Mike Millard behind the wheel. I would not be surprised if this car shows up the Aston in terms of fast pace in one lap. Meanwhile, throughout all of this, Peter Cook in the Simpson Motorsport Porsche has been driving very serenely. No problems in that car at all. They're quietly getting on with things in the Red Route Porsche, and they're starting to show themselves to be a very amicable race team. Very well prepared, very professional, getting on with things. And while everybody else panics and things break down, they are motoring on. Speaking of panicking, I have a feeling that Chevron are sweating for several reasons. The GT3 still in the pits, and back in the pits again comes the Track Talk Chevron of Chris Hart. Oh dear, the pit lane is starting to get littered with Chevrons, and not for any of the right reasons either. It's certainly not victory lane. Oh, and that's not a good sign either. The Rapier's back in. They're dropping like flies here. The Chevron GR8 of Track Talk still in the pit lane, and into the pits comes Andy Schultz. Now this is a scheduled pit stop. Horsepower Aston as Schultz hands over to Paul Bailey. Ian Logie still out there in the Parker Porsche. Now this is what a well-oiled, well-drilled pit stop should look like in the British Endurance Championship. Driver out, fuel in, then once the fuel is done, next driver gets in, then you change all the wheels. You've got to make sure that the right amount of team members are doing each specific job on the car. And if you've done it right to time, that's exactly how it should go. Engine back on, back into the race you go, Paul. Oh, this is the moment. James Webb on the inside of Flick Haig. That is full position, and that's for the leading class. Oh, Flick Haig has done so much hard work to keep James Webb back, but James just got up. Oh dear, that's such a disappointing sight. The Track Talk Chevron being wheeled into the garage, and I have a feeling that could be the last we see of it. 2 races on the trot. Oh, and there's big smoke. Big smoke from one of the Chevrons. Is that the GT4? It is! That's Anthony Reid. Big smoke out the back of the GT4. This battle continues on. This is for the lead of Class 3. Tom Webb has caught up with Ryan Ratcliffe. He dives for the inside of Dean Hairpin, and he's got him! That's the lead of Class 3. The battle's still raging between these two. And with the GT4 out of action, it's going to be a 2-man war between Tom Webb and Ryan Ratcliffe right to the bitter end. And they're making a real race of it. And that's the Chevron GT3 back in the pit lane. Once again, Marcus Clutton has brought that car in. Now have a look at the lap time so far. You can see the number 8, Rapier, has actually gone 1,000th of a second slower on lap 85. Then the 28 Aston, which did a 1:24.017. There it is. So that will be Andy Schultz's quickest lap, the 1:24.017. Adam Sharp has done a 1:24.018. So they are separated by 1,000th of a second, and the Rapier boys will want to get the fastest lap in before the end of the race to take a bit of pride away from the Aston Martin. And wow, he's just done it, 1:23.803. That is the new fastest lap of the race. Having just gone 1,000th slower, he's now gone 0.2 of a second quicker. A brilliant drive from Andy Schultz and Paul Bailey. They haven't done a single thing wrong today, and it's 2 wins out of 2. The checkered flag is theirs. What a commanding drive. 3 hours, and they made it look like child's play. A brilliant Class 3 win for Team Webb. James will be delighted. They finish behind Ian Logie and Chris Jones in the Parker Porsche, who are second overall, and the winners of Class 2. What a race.
Paul and Andy, congratulations yet again. How did you find it out there?
Yeah, it was a bit hot. It's a very demanding circuit in terms of the strain on your neck and your body. Yeah. But we weren't going at full chat because we didn't need to. And we had such a good lead that we both backed it off a bit and just brought the car home safe, which is really what you need to do in an endurance race.
So there's the championship standings after a gripping race at Rockingham. And if that was only round 3, what's Brands going to provide? Don't miss it.
Want to keep up with all the racing action at the track? Well, download the new Go Racing TV iPhone and Android app. And remember to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
Welcome to the Britcar MSA British Endurance Championship from Brands Hatch. Now, I do feel rather special that I'm about to interview you whilst you're in your helmet, but tell us about qualifying. How did it all go for you?
Yeah, qualifying was a bit of a disaster for us, but you know, I think the race will go pretty well. We're starting from near the back because we went out on the first lap. I haven't been here since 2003, and there was a stone stuck in the throttle mechanism, so it just stuck wide open going into Hawthorns, which was quite exciting. And we got the car back, and then we managed to get 10 minutes running at the end. So Mike and I have qualified, but that's it really. So it's just going to be get out there, try and remember where the track goes, and make up some ground before we put the hot shoe Mike Simpson in.
Well, Tom, it's good to see you here, and qualifying went fantastic. Tell us about it.
Yeah, it was a brilliant start to the weekend. I haven't had much time with the car behind us here, but to go out in qualifying in only a few laps, just sneak the pole away from the other Aston was a fantastic feeling.
It's an all Aston Martin front row with Strada 21 alongside Horsepower Racing. The Neil Garner Mosler is there alongside the Treble 8 Optimum BMW, the Batmobile as it's known. The Strada 21 team have also brought the very interesting Praga R4S, and that's 5th on the grid. More on that later. The Track Speed Porsche boys are there in 6th place, ahead of Millard, Greensell and Coleman in the Rapier, and Simpson Motorsport have changed their Porsche for an Audi R8. Team Parker still have their Porsche in 9th on the grid. BPM Renault are still there, with Ashley Woodman joined by last year's champion Martin Byford. Fold Sport and FF Corse share row 6 with the GTS BMW alongside the Track Talk Chevron. MJC have brought their Ferrari for Whit Gamsky and Phil Dryberg. The LNT Ginetta of Tomlinson and Simpson there in 16th on the grid. That's going to be a tall order. So the lights are on, and when they go out, we'll go racing for 3 hours. Here at Brands Hatch, away we go. And on board, on the way down to the first corner with Chris Jones, and he's having a bit of an interesting time of it on the run through Powderkill Bend for the first time. But out in front, it is the Strada 21 Aston with the Neil Garner Mosler of Morcillo moving into second place past Paul Bailey. Now that's good for the psychological game plan early on as the field shuffles their way through Druids for the first time. Martin Byford, we're on board with him now as he battles there with Rob Smith in the Strada 21 Praga. He must be loving being back, and I have to say I'm delighted to see him back in the championship as well. Very much missed, and already he's back in with a fight. Now a big move there, goodness me, David Ashburn going ugly early with Lee Mole in the BMW, and it almost worked. Now Jones getting on there as well. No! Gamsky and Reed, contact of car curve. Both teams are out of it on the spot. Flickhaig narrowly misses it. Tom Webb picks his way through, but it's over for Chevron cars. It's over for MJC Ferrari. Ferrari, and there is Witt getting out. That is the good news. So both drivers are okay. Not much either driver could have done about it. Witt just losing the back end through Clark Curve, and Anthony tried to get out of the way, but there just wasn't enough space for both of them to get through together. Now that's the Track Talk Chevron in the pits. Tommy Field having brought it in very early. That's definitely not scheduled, so mechanical problems again creeping in for them. The safety car is out on track, bringing the field round. They're actually pretty much stationary at Clark Curve. I've never seen that before. But problems for Chevron. Rachel has found Chris Hart, I believe.
So the car just came into the pits. What happened?
We don't quite know yet. The engine's gone flat again. We've done 2 days testing before we came here. We've run absolutely sweet the whole way through yesterday, and it was flying, and it just appears to be the same thing as we keep having time after time, and the temperature's creeping up, and we seem to have a bit of an oil leak. So we're going to go out and see if we can do anything about it, but who knows.
Green flag waves, and into the lead goes Onslow Cole in the Aston. The Mosler is right on his tail. On board once again with Martin Byford in the Renault. Whoop, there goes the Ginetta. I think that's Colin White that's nipped through. There's Onslow Cole out in front. Morcillo and the Mosler in second, and they've got a nice gap over Paul Bailey in the Horsepower Aston at the moment. Now look at the back of this queue and you'll see the Ginetta, the LMT car, has crept up. So they started 16th and they're now up into 7th place. So Lawrence is really on it and they want to keep this maintaining record. I can't quite envisage, I mean, I know it's a 3-hour race, but it would be spectacular if they managed to win 3 out of 3 starts in the British Endurance Championship from so far back. The last 2 times they were competitive in qualifying and they were right at the front, so it's pretty plain sailing. This is going to have to be a totally different ballpark for them if they want to take this victory, and there are some pretty sharp teams up in front of them. Mike Millard brings the Rapier in, and that's looking pretty terminal, massive smoke. So I would have thought that was an engine failure, and it's looking like a pretty dead engine as Millard brings it into the pit lane, and it's smoking very bad. I think I just saw a lick of flame there on the back of the car. Tom Onslow Cole in the Strada 21 leading still, pushing out in front, and yes, the fire extinguishers, all hands to the fire extinguishers in the pit lane. The Rapier looks like it is on fire. Rachel is down there. Has she found Mike?
That was the first time you realised that the engine was on fire, was looking at the marshals.
Yeah, definitely.
That's incredible. And okay, when something like that happens, what goes through your mind? Is it literally a case of I've got to get out as fast as I can, or I've got to drive it as far down here as I can?
No, you just do what the marshals tell you. I mean, they said stop, get out, so that's exactly what we did.
So moving forward from here, for the rest of the season, do you think that's...
Looks in a pretty bad way, so I shouldn't imagine we'll finish for the rest of the season yet. That would be it. got a lot of work to do now.
That is such bad news for the Rapier boys. It's been great having them around all season. It looks like we got another retirement. Safety car. So is that for the Praga R4S? I think it might be. Into the pits then comes the Neil Garner Mosler, taking full advantage. Safety car out on track again. I'm fairly sure it's for Rob Smith. That's Cintrano! He loses it in the Mosler. Now that's up at Westfield. I wonder if the rain that Ryan Ratcliffe prophesied about a little bit earlier has arrived on the circuit, because under yellow flags behind the safety car, they're all going to try and bunch up, of course, behind the field. But that's a wild moment for Cintrano. That's the Strada 21 Praga, the Romanian car being recovered. I don't think we're going to be seeing that out again. So we've had word, both Wittgamski and Anthony Reid are okay. Both cars eliminated from the race. One of several retirements, those cars. The Track Talk Chevron is out as well. Tommy Field and Chris Hart going no further. Nor is the Rapier. We saw that car in a ball of flame earlier on. Fortunately, they're all okay as well. The racing resumes. Tom Onslow Cole picks up his place in the lead. And we've had several cars peel into the pits, probably for a driver change. That's the horsepower Aston. So Bailey handing over to Andy Schultz. That's the CWS Ginetta that started last. And still this battle, it looks like Joe Osborne has actually made his way through into second place overall now, past Byford in the Renault. Hang on a minute, is that the black and white flag for car 24, I think that is. That's the Parker Porsche. So that's Chris Jones. I don't know whether that was the black flag or the black and white. I'm hoping it was only the black and white. So whether that's for track limits or not, I don't know. But again, Schultz makes his move on the back of Michael Simpson. They very nearly went off together. Now Schultz on the inside. This is going to be a satisfying move if he pulls it off. Thank you very much and good night. He makes up a place on the LNT Ginetta. Andy Schultz is in fine style today. There is the penalty then for Chris Jones. What on earth is that for? Certainly didn't see him do anything out on track. Hang on a minute. That's the Aston. That's Andy Schultz slowing. Goodness me. Well, he was leading because the LNT Ginetta has made its pit stop and is down in third place. A few seconds behind John Gore in the Strada 21. That's the leader then. Andy Schultz in the Aston. So this is the new leader then, John Gore. And if we look down the road a few seconds back, it's going to be the LNT Ginetta. Rachel is down there. What can she tell us?
So Paul, tell me what's going on.
So Andy's done a double stint. With 14 laps to go. We had enough fuel for 14 laps. So we were counting down the seconds. And then we thought we had a puncture, but it's actually sheared the wishbone on the back of the car. So we have no drive now. It's just unsafe to go out. We're going to try and put another one on just so we can take the checkered flag.
A pretty fed up looking Paul Bailey as he makes his... Well, that's the Aston coming in again. So the 007 Aston, John Gore, they didn't have enough fuel to make it to the pits. Michael Simpson in the LNT Ginetta, they've come back from 16th on the grid. Every time they've started a race in the British Endurance Championship, they have been victorious, and they've done it again. I can't believe it. Obviously, the Ginetta boys are invitational, as are the other two podium sitters, the 007 Strada 21 Aston and the BMW of Chevrolet Optimum. Class 2 win for the Simpson Audi, Class 3 win for GTS BMW. What a race!
Class winners, congratulations. Now, I feel I should just straight away just come to you and say, how did you find the race and did it go according to your plan? Did you have a plan?
I don't think we had a plan, did we? We were just going to go for it, try and take a safety car, and we got quite a big one, quite a big safety car early on. Quite a nasty accident. I hope they're both all right. Yeah. And we took 25 litres of fuel, and that was able to do the one normal stop with the 50 litres of fuel. So I think it was quite a hard drive. I think Jim struggled with tyres a little bit, didn't you? I think it was this circuit we struggled with pickup for some reason, and it took him quite a while to get him off, so the pace wasn't there initially. But thankfully we had a couple of safety cars that brought us back into contention.
Well, congratulations to both of you. Did that race completely go according to plan?
Yeah, I mean, Lawrence did a cracking stint, 18th, 19th to 6th, so I couldn't have asked for any more, and left me a great car, so I was able to do a good hour's stint on Lawrence's tyres. So, no, very good. We had a slight pit confusion, which I thought I was being told to slow down, take it easy, and it was pit. So I'll get a slap for that one, but no, cracking result. So it's, again, Brit Car Endurance again, we've won again. beat Works Aston and everybody BMW. So
brilliant.
Over the moon.
So a cracking 3-hour race from Brands Hatch then, some returning faces, some brilliant performances, massive action on the circuit, and with the championship looking like this, heading to the next race, it's going to be pretty epic.